Many Mormons wish Romney had lost the nomination simply because the massive spotlight on them right now is making them quite uncomfortable.
This is Faith Complex, a conversation about religion, politics, and art, with your host, Jacques Berlinerblau.
Hello, my name is Jacques Berlinerblau of Georgetown University, and you're watching Faith Complex. Joining us today is Dr. Matthew Bowman, visiting assistant professor at Hampden-Sydney College and author of The Mormon People, The Making of an American Faith. Dr. Bowman, welcome to Faith Complex.
Thank you. Great to be here.
All right, so he did it. Mitt Romney is the presumptive Republican nominee for president.
He eked it out. I feel like he did barely the minimum possible to pull it off, but he has done it.
America is ready for a Mormon president.
I feel like they are, and this actually says as much about America as it does about the Mormons themselves. America today, I think, is a more tolerant place than it has been in a long time.
All right, very good. Now, we hear this kind of meme all over the place, and you might have even invented it as far as I know, the Mormon moment, the Mormon moment. What are people talking about when they talk about the Mormon moment?
It wasn't actually me. I know who it was.
Who was it?
It was Newsweek magazine in 2001, and they coined this term, the Mormon moment, to refer to the Salt Lake City Olympics in 2002. And this, I think, is interesting. There have not just been one Mormon moment. There have been 5, 6, 7 Mormon moments. Every few decades, it appears, the Mormons come onto the national stage, they bid for respectability, they try to seem normal, and America has this conversation. Are we ready to allow the Mormons in? Do the Mormons have odd religious practices, they have odd doctrine, they may be heretics, their church hierarchy is not compatible with democracy. Americans have this conversation, and sometimes they say, well, yeah, we will let the Mormons in. Other times they say, no, we won't.
So Donnie and Marie Osmond, was that a Mormon moment?
Donnie and Marie Osmond, all the way back to Reed Smoot, who was a senator from Utah in 1904, who could not take a seat for 3 years because he was a Mormon.
And the 1878 Reynolds polygamy case,
exactly.
That was a Mormon
the raid back to that, all the way back through Joseph Smith, actually being driven from
How do these
Missouri.
things usually resolve itself, Mormon moments? Do Mormons like Mormon moments?
Right, Mormons generally don't, and I feel like that is actually true today. Many Mormons wish Romney had lost the nomination simply because the massive spotlight on them right now is making them quite uncomfortable. The constant interrogation, the sense that Mormons are not quite normal, even though Mormons feel normal. Mormons shop at J. Crew just like everybody else, or actually maybe I shouldn't say J. Crew, maybe I should say like TJ Maxx, like everybody else. But they don't feel odd. They don't feel strange. And suddenly all of these people saying, you are odd, is something that Mormons are uncomfortable with.
And is Mitt Romney, in the Mormon way of looking at the world, the majority of Mormons in the United States, is he a perfect exemplar of Mormonism, or is he to the left or to the right?
He is in many ways the embodiment of a certain brand of Mormonism that's been around for quite a while. This Mormonism of the 1950s and 1960s that did become quite culturally conservative, that enjoyed dressing up in suits, that feels a lot of compatibility with American business and American politics. There are, though, I think many younger Mormons, not of that generation, who do feel that he's a little bit behind. That he's representative of this generation of Mormons who died out maybe 20 or 30 years
Because they were
ago.
too conservative and status quo?
He looks like, there was a comment a few weeks ago that Romney looks like a character from Mad Men, and he certainly does, right? He's got this 1960s businessman professional aspect to him. Recently, though, the church has mounted an ad campaign called I'm a Mormon, which shows in 30-second snippets skateboarders in New York City.
Guy on a motorcycle?
Guy on a motorcycle,
yeah, I saw him.
right? This single African-American teacher from inner city Los Angeles who all talk about themselves and then say, I'm a Mormon. This is aspirational in a sense. The church wants to be perceived as something that's more like American culture, a panoply of different ethnicities, a panoply of different cultures.
So now when we speak about Mitt Romney's chances in the fall, we have to go through a couple of constituencies that seem perhaps not that open. We can't tell. Let's start with the Evangelicals. Is there an evangelical Mormon difficulty or hurdle that needs to be surmounted?
There certainly is. And there's a lot of different types of evangelicals, so it's difficult to characterize them all. But I would say,
White conservative evangelicals.
Yes, conservative evangelicals. There's two groups of these people. Some of them, I think, will vote for Mitt Romney. These are the people who would use the term conservative to refer to their politics, who would say, I'm a member of the religious right. I am socially conservative. These people, I think, will vote for Romney simply because they like him more than they like Barack Obama. There's another group, though, of conservative evangelicals who use the word conservative to refer to their orthodoxy. These might be the people we call fundamentalists. These are the people who I think will simply stay home and not vote for either
So when Pastor Robert Jeffress, who was Rick Perry's supporter, made those unconscionable remarks, is that something Mormons have heard many times from that particular type of evangelical?
Yeah, absolutely. Mormonism is a cult, as he said. And this is something that's been thrown at Mormons for a long, long time.
And is that sort of anti-Mormon sentiment salting away amongst evangelicals, or is it growing?
Yeah, I think it is. You know, there has been increased evangelical outreach towards Mormons. There's been an ongoing interfaith dialogue between evangelicals at Fuller Theological Seminary, which is a big deal, evangelical seminary, and some Mormon professors. There's a growing, I think, common ground. But there are this hardcore fundamentalist fringe who will never, I think, support a Mormon.
Now, strangely enough, survey data is indicating that my people, the secular liberals, are as, if not more, irrationally opposed to a Mormon candidate. Have you ever seen any of that in some of your research, and why does it exist?
Sure. You know, you run across these people, and I think for a lot of these people, when they're asked, would you support a Mormon for president, the person they're thinking of is Mitt Romney. So these people may just not vote for a Mormon because they would not vote for Mitt Romney. I suspect if, say, you flip out Romney and flip in Harry Reid, the majority leader of the Senate, who is a Democrat, who is a Mormon, those numbers would go down. There are, though, groups of, I think, left-wing secular liberals who simply find Mormonism, like any other religion, odd and strange and irrational.
Let's talk about another constituency. In 1978, the LDS Church reversed some policies and some customs about prohibitions on interracial marriage, prohibitions on ordaining African-American clergy and letting African-Americans worship in temples. You've explained to me that it's a little more complex than that.
Sure.
There is this perception, however, does Mitt Romney have an African-American concern in swing states where there are conservative religious African-American voters who will vote Republican?
You know, I think he may. This policy that you're speaking of was before 1978, black men could not be part of the Mormon priesthood. They could not be ordained to the priesthood in Mormonism. And, you know, this has been a really painful issue for the church for a long time. And Romney has said that he was 31 when this policy was reversed. He has said that he wept in joy when it occurred. There was some division within the church before 1978 about this policy, some desire to overturn it. But the church is a very slow institution. Its wheels move quite slowly. This will be something, I think, that will come up, particularly because he's running against, of all people, Barack Obama. This may be something Romney will have to address at some point. You know, very recently, only a few weeks ago in the Washington Post, a professor of religion at BYU uttered to a Post reporter some theories that 19th century Mormon theologians had offered to explain this policy, this very garish and distasteful and awful stuff. The church came out with a statement officially repudiating these things that this religion professor said, but it had not done so until that point. And the leaders of the church still say that the ban was a divine thing, that God intended for this sort of thing to happen. This sort of thing is, as I said, creating a lot of discontent within some groups within Mormonism, but also I think it's becoming increasingly problematic of an issue outside the church as well. If there is any issue about Mormonism that Romney will have to address, I think it will be this one.
Dr. Bowman, you've really given us an education. Thank you so much for coming to Faith Complex
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.